Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, guys. I want to make sure you guys are here in the live. And if you do come in, say hello, drop a one in the comments. Let me know that you are here live and well, ready and able to take on the discussion of can gig work, especially in this 2024 environment, be a viable career strategy? Some say yes, some say no. It all depends on what type of gig work you are doing. Guys, of course, I want to go ahead and at least let you know that right now in 2024, the gig work is not happening the way it used to. Before, the whole pandemic situation, or right during the pandemic, gig work of all kinds was high in demand, and it was hot. Things were I was participating in the gig economy myself on a part-time level and in some ways a full-time level until I actually got I started working a regular 9 to 5 again. So I want to make sure you guys understand that I'm not against gig work. Please don't take that as what this is. I want to make sure you guys have the proper information to be able to make a decent decision as it pertains to gig work. I do want to touch on something to make sure that you guys have a better understanding. I did find this article so you guys know I'm not just talking from just my perspective, although my perspective it's a very unbiased perspective, and I don't want you guys to think that's the only thing I'm speaking from. At the end of the day, I want to make sure you have all the career options that you can manage and you can actually execute, especially in 2024, because there are a lot of things that are changing. All right. So this article was written by Noah Shieldlower in from Business Insider. The title of it is "A Millennial with a Disability Thought Becoming a Lyft Driver Would Give Her Financial Freedom. 7 years later, she's struggling to make ends meet." What a title. We're going to dissect that in a second. Let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? And of course, the inevitable for anybody that's ever driven for Lyft or Uber, that should be a familiar picture to you. All right. A millennial with a disability says gig driving was one of the only options for her given condition. Still, she's struggling to make 200 some weeks after accounting for taxes and maintenance expenses. While she values the flexibility, she's looking for a more stable option as her pay declines. Elizabeth thought driving Lyft and Uber would be her key to pay her bills and saving up for the future. But after 7 years and thousands of miles driven, she's having trouble to make ends meet. Elizabeth, who is in her mid 30s and works in the Southeast, said she first started gig work after suffering an injury that limited her work options. She told Business Insider she valued the flexibility of driving for Uber and Lyft, given she could take days off if she was in pain. She still loves how she can take days off when she's not feeling up to driving, though now some weeks which can vary between 15 to 40 hours given the limitation of her disability, she barely makes 200 a week. Ah, boy. And over what she spends on her vehicle's maintenance and gas, she says she's struggling to make her $400. She struggled to make her $400 car payment last month, and that doesn't include insurance, folks. They don't pay us a living wage. Oh boy. Elizabeth said, who was given partial anonymity for fear of retribution for speaking out about her employer. Basically, for one reason, the only reason I still drive for them is that I don't have many more options. Many young Americans are increasingly leaving their 9 to 5 office jobs and looking for jobs like grocery delivery and digital freelancing, as the number of U.S. gig workers more than doubled during the pandemic. Yes, I definitely understand that the pandemic was able to provide a lot of people with a lot more options as far as gig work is concerned. However, the tides have turned, folks. Um, of course, there's a video here from, it says WBAL, I guess this is Baltimore. Um, Let me see if you guys want to hear it. It's a minute and 53 seconds. Let me go ahead and play it for you guys so you can hear it.
And I work Lyft to make ends meet.
Linda Morales has driven hundreds of rides for Lyft. New Year's Eve, she flipped on her LED sign expecting to bring in extra earnings on a busy night. Instead, she had to hit the brakes earlier than expected.
Right around 10 o'clock or so, the app seemed to have crashed, and instead of showing my earnings, it showed $0.
Drivers can normally cash out earnings instantly. So, with no sign of money coming in off the ride she was giving, Morales had to call it quits.
It was very frightening last night not to be able to see my earnings coming on.
She's far from alone. Lyft drivers across the country are steering into the same issue.
I would not have been on the road last night past 12 o'clock had it not been New Year's Eve. I was looking forward to and counting on those extra rides and, looking forward to helping people get home safely from parties, when they were drinking or shouldn't be on the road driving.
She's now calling on the rideshare to explain why her earnings are not showing up.
Lyft needs to apologize to its drivers, compensate us for our time that we worked last night, and treat us with respect.
And that was Tommy Clark reporting. Now, 11 News did reach out to Lyft. The spokesperson says, quote, "We are aware of an issue impacting some drivers. Our team has been working quickly to resolve it as soon as possible so that drivers see and receive the correct earnings." They add that all earnings are safe.
All right. So we see that. All right, let's continue. 45% of Gen Zers and 44% of millennials making $2,500 or more a month in gig work after considering expenses, compared to the 36% of Gen Xers and 30% of boomers, a TransUnion study of nearly 1,000 adults found. Still, many debating whether or not these jobs are sustainable enough or if they even make sense only as side gigs. Some have taken more stable jobs as bus drivers or travel agents, while others have started their own freelance services. Hey. For Elizabeth, who hasn't consistently been making $2,500 each month, gig work isn't cutting it. And I would dare to say the same. Gig work isn't cutting it. But she said she's stuck since there are few options in her home, in her small town. Just getting by. For Elizabeth, the flexibility of choosing when to drive based on her disability has for years given her peace of mind. The opportunity to meet cool people, listen to their stories, and occasionally help them through difficult moments keeps her going, she said. If I see somebody that's upset or scared or feeling any kind of negative emotion, I can just talk to them, figure out what's going on, she said. Still, she said this type of work has become increasingly unsustainable. Lyft and Uber were taking around 25% of what she was paid per ride when she first started, she said. And she acknowledges that she was making a reasonable amount. But over the years, she noticed her paycheck dwindling by comparable amounts of work, as confirmed by screenshots with Benefits Insider. A few years into driving, she said she only gets 65 to 70% of her earnings from each ride after the company changed its pay structure to pay drivers per mile and per minute. For Lyft, she says her rate card was 94 cents per mile and 14 cents per minute. But last year, she said her pay was slashed after the adoption of upfront pay, which calculates the price per ride based on an algorithm. This has dropped her down to 45 to 65% of fares per ride, screenshots of recent rides show. The upfront amount of every single ride is severely lower than I should have gotten paid according to the rate card, she said. On a lot of rides that I've taken, Lyft gets more money than I do. I've seen that when I was working out there, even when it was hot. She said the number of rideshare drivers in her area has skyrocketed. Supply and demand, folks, recently, which made it more difficult for her to secure more rides. They've clustered all around me, 7 or 8 of them just within a 2-mile radius of me, Elizabeth said. These companies don't put a cap on it. It interferes with every single driver's earnings because they're competing with all the other drivers. And there's more drivers on the road. When there's more drivers on the road, I make less money. Finding the energy to keep going. But guys, I'm just going to touch on the last paragraph here. What keeps her going, she said, is meeting new people and being a resource for them, which gives her a reason to continue driving as she tries to figure out a more stable income source. I'm really good at reading people, and if I see someone that's upset or scared or feeling any kind of negative emotion, I can just kind of talk to them and figure out what's going on, Elizabeth said. I have a tendency to give people life advice or try to help them out of a bad situation. Are you a gig worker who is struggling to make ends meet or has transitioned to a new line of work? Of course, the reporter is leaving their email here as well. So, just based on what this is right now, as far as what this article is presenting, guys, I am going to say this. Number one, as much as I would love to say to this young lady, honey, the jig is up. When it comes to gig work, it all depends on the gig work you're doing. And not all gig work is going to last in every single economic situation. What's the mindset? I'm going to put the first question. What's the mindset of this individual in this article as it pertains to Lyft and Uber? The unfortunate part about this is she made the assumption that Lyft and Uber and the rideshare was going to remain the same as it were in the glory days or in the old days or when it first began. You have to keep in mind that, especially for rideshare, because gig work does not only include rideshare, it includes freelance, it includes other types of package delivery, food delivery. There's not just one type of gig work. There's more than one. However, based on this article, the mindset of this young lady is that she thought that it was going to stay that way forever, not realizing that, excuse me, I had to take a sip of water there, not realizing that in this market, people are going to gravitate towards something that gives them more freedom, gives them more flexibility. And because the unfortunate part about it is it's a low-skilled position. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Everyone, if you know you have a regular driver's license, you can drive for Lyft and Uber. And if you have a clean record, you can drive for Lyft and Uber. Nothing wrong with it as gig work, but however, once upon a time, you could definitely drive full time and make a somewhat decent living depending on where you lived. However, that is rapidly changing in 2024. Oh, hello, Mocha Mommy. Welcome to the live. Mocha Mommy says, I am in support of students in the gig economy. I have a student now working for Rover, walking dogs before and after class. Beautiful. She also watches the dog on school breaks, which also falls into holidays. Yeah, that's the equivalent of the part-time job or the summer job that college students, I definitely welcome college students in the low-skilled gig economy. However, as far as making that a career option like this young lady did, that is not a wise decision in 2024. I would advise a young lady that is in that position to either start honing in on other skills that you have that are more in high demand, either develop the skill or learn another skill that can provide you with the same time freedom as far as the flexibility is concerned, but is going to be more valuable to you in the marketplace. The mindset, she thought it was going to stay the same, and unfortunately, that turned out not to be the case. Um, and of course, I'm going to ask this question. I know the answer to the question, folks, but do I really think, and I know the answer to this, of course, do you honestly think gig work as a Uber or Lyft driver is going to be a long-term strategy? Absolutely not. Right now, based on how 2024 is shaping up, that is the side hustle right now. And it's becoming a saturated side hustle. So much so that people are, if you were able to hear some of the article, she talked about the fact that in her small town there's way more Uber drivers now, so she's not getting as many rides, and she's barely making $200 a week, so she's not able to even pay the $400 a month for her car payment. Folks, it can't be a career strategy if you can't take care of your basic responsibilities. You have to look at other career options. It's not going to be sustainable. Barely making $200 a week, and you have a full-fledged of house full of bills. Depending on where you're living, that can't even take care of one utility bill. That's not something that anybody that has a full household of bills that can't be something that's an option. Mocha Mommy says, grown folks, no, absolutely not. You are correct about that. Even tech guys and consultants on Fiverr, exactly, as Fiverr is an option, are struggling struggling with how competitive it is now. Of course, ask your tax prep professionals. They're going to leave that accounts payable job with a 401k. Exactly. Listen, at the end of the day, folks, it has to make sense for you. Whatever you are doing in the job market, if you're doing gig work as your full-time, make sure it's gig work that is actually paying you. If you have $2,000 worth of expenses, let's do some common sense here, folks. If you have $2,000 worth of expenses and your gig work's only paying you $1,500, you're going to have to do something to make up the difference and make up the difference over and above your regular expenses. So you want the time freedom, but you also want to eat. So let's be clear. This is not just a career conversation. This is an economic conversation. Are you making a decision that is going to be right for you economically, not just for right now, but for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now? Yes, doing gig work is great, but do you have other skills that you can capitalize on? So unfortunately, in this young lady's case, she was hanging her hat on Lyft and Uber when unfortunately she really has the ultimate control of those of that gig work is Lyft and Uber, not her. Of course, she can work and she can use the app as much as possible, but how many rides come to her, what the volume of rides, all depends on their system, and they're in ultimate control of that. Not her. She has to take control of her actual career. She did specifically say that she did have a disability, so I know her career options might be slim, but not so slim that you have to settle for less than $200 a week. Not with all the responsibility that it sounds like she has. The car payment alone she's struggling to pay, and you should be able to take care of that within a week. Not 2 weeks, because you can barely get $200 for a week. Nah, that's not cutting it. What would be a career for that particular young lady or anybody in this situation? Because I know there's quite a few people, even people that have YouTube channels, that talk about being Lyft and Uber drivers full time and the struggles that they're experiencing. If not, what would be a better career strategy for her? What kind of experience does she have? What are some of her transferable skills? I actually have a resource that you guys can grab. You can go to mentorshelly.com. Let me go ahead and put that up on the screen for you guys. Let's see here. Let me add it to the banner here. It's mentorshelly.com/DCG. It's a dream career guide. What it will do is allow you guys to use that career guide, that career guide, to be able to narrow down your transferable skills. I'm not just talking about this stuff because I want to scare anybody that's in this particular position. But if gig work is your only option, low skilled gig work, you want to see what other transferable skills do you have that you can use in the job market going forward? What is it that you can offer to the market? What type of experience do you have elsewhere? What is it that what you can do? What kind of job can you have? What does your resume look like? If you don't have that much experience, then you can start at, if you prefer working in the office, then maybe you can go, you can maybe get some licensure, start going into the direction of insurance or compliance. If you're more of a hands-on, I want to learn to build things or do things with my hands, then you can go into the skilled laborers area. Depending on what you have, what it is that you can offer. What can you do in the marketplace that is going to earn you a decent living to take care of your responsibilities and be able to create a future that you want to be a part of? Because at the end of the day, folks, if you're relying on Lyft and Uber or Rover or those other, the gig economy is there, but it's dwindling. It's not at the level that it was maybe 2-3 years ago where people were making a killing, because it's not that way anymore. Let's be clear, because I want to make sure that you know what your actual options are. Of course, what are some of if you want to still stay in I want to keep my career options open, I just touched on skill trades. You want to pick up some skill trades, maybe going into an apprenticeship type, where you learn how to either, I don't know, there's so many options. You can learn how to build, go into construction, learn how to lay carpet, learn how to lay tile, start working with a plumber, start working with an electrician. There are so many. There's so many different options on the skill trades. As a matter of fact, if you like to work with your hands, I would advise you to go that route, because you'll be able to pick up some skills in a fairly short period of time. And that's an industry that's actually growing right now. Of course, if you like to work with more with computers, then definitely picking up an IT certification of one way or the other, that's also options that you can exercise. At the end of the day, you have options. Exercise those options. And I don't want you to feel like you're stuck in just being dependent upon the Ubers and the Lyfts of the world. I mean, there's Amazon people that deliver for Amazon now and with their car. Or if you want to start your business, you can definitely do that as well. If you want to go ahead and start in a digital real estate space, Erica has a great option. She does have a digital real estate class. You can go to Classy Climb. I think that's cl.com. Classy Climb. Just go ahead and search for Erica Williams on YouTube or on Google. Erica Williams, Classy Climb. And you can search for it in Google, and you'll be able to find her digital real estate class. If you want to start a business instead, go ahead and build that business while you're working either a job or keep working in the gig economy. But the gig work is actually a side hustle. It's downgraded in 2024 to a side hustle. So I want you guys to make sure that you have the options that you need to be able to make the proper choices for your viable career strategy in 2024. The gig economy has its place, or the gig work has its place as a side hustle, because working that full time has now become estranged because it's not as lucrative as it used to be. So I want to make sure you guys have your career options available. And of course, I do have the free guide there. You can go to mentorshelly.com/DCG. But if you want to work with me directly to develop your full-blown career strategy, as we walk through that step by step, then you can go to mentorshelly.com/consultations. I'm more than happy to work with you to put your specific strategy together, help you with your resources, and make sure that you have all of the career tools, the interview coaching, and the salary negotiation strategies to make sure you can place yourself in a much better position economically and not just be in the gig work or gig economy space, because your career options are vast if you know how to maneuver them. Guys, I want to make sure that you have what you need. And of course, if you want to work with me one-on-one to do so, you can go to mentorshelly.com/consultations to do that. If you have questions, just general questions about what we talked about today in the gig economy, or you want me to discuss a particular topic in the career, economic, and job market space, you can go to mentorshelly.com/contact, where you can leave me a voicemail or an email message, and I'm more than happy to return your voicemail or email within 24 hours, guys. I want you guys to understand what your options are. It's not that gig work is not an option. Gig work is an option part-time, because the economy is changing. And gig work, unfortunately, a lot of people thought it would be a viable option for years to come, but the economy has changed, and you do have to have other skills, higher in demand skills, to be more viable or be more valuable in the marketplace. All right, guys, this is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally. If you found this information helpful, go ahead and like, comment, share this video with your friend that you know is still doing gig work and is struggling through that. And of course, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already done so. I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers and would love your support in this, guys. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally as you navigate through what gig work means to you, but also understanding that you have more vast career options. All right, guys, take care. You have a good one. Bye.